Hello, everyone. I know what you must be thinking. Another new background? Really? What is this? Like House Swap or whatever that old TV show on like TLC was or whatever it is? That's a that's a dated joke. Man, I'm really starting this one off strong, eh? For those of you who may not know me, I am Cypress Soulfire. I used to go by TJ King. You'll often hear me be called Thomas on this channel. And if you read the title, you might understand what's going on here. This is episode 0 of a podcast that I'm going to be doing. Yeah, I know, a little weird. I'm still trying to figure out kind of the mechanics of said podcast. I actually have episode 1 recorded, edited, and uploaded right now. It's just in private, and as we say in Apex Legends, we're gonna hot drop it tomorrow at noon. So October 31st, noon, first episode of the Soulfire podcast. I believe I called it. I might have called it Soulfire Studio Podcast. The name is still in the works. All right, it's the first episode. Give me a break. Um, So, episode 0 is basically just a way for me to talk directly to you and tell you pretty much what the podcast is going to be about and why I'm doing it. So, the why I'm doing it is because basically I wanted to be able to have some form of creative outlet that I could put on the channel. And by doing an audio recording that I can overlay with an image and eventually maybe do a video podcast every so often. It makes my job easier because I literally just have to drag an audio file onto a photo because we all know I hate editing. I've said that since PVGRC days. Editing is the bane of my existence. That's why I never did it. I filmed stuff and then passed it off to somebody else to edit. And even when I did edit in the earlier days of my channel, it was sloppy and messy and terrible. So basically it's a creative outlet. That's the main reasoning for it. And what the podcast is going to be is me either by myself talking about some topics that I want to voice my opinion on and, just kind of have an outlet on. And sometimes it'll also feature some guests. So, for example, episode 1 saw the triumphant return of the one, the only Justin, my old friend from earlier on in the early days of the channel. If you watch Road to No Man's Land, you'll remember him. He's back, and we did an awesome episode that I hope you all will watch and enjoy, or at least listen to and enjoy. As we progress with this, it's going to change drastically. New ideas are going to come to me, new segments, stuff like that. But I started with a segment that I'm going to have it be a recurring thing whenever I have a guest on. And it's basically the hits the blunt and then asks a question sort of thing. It's like that meme. And it's these really outlandish sort of questions that make people think, and some really interesting responses that come from it from both sides. And I'm really interested to see what some of my other friends that I'll have on this podcast think about these things. I'm also hoping to get a whole bunch of different people on, people that have never been on the channel, people who have been on the channel before, people who I've referenced on the channel before I'd love to have on. Eventually I'd like to step it up to doing some more like serious episodes of it where we're talking about some more heavy issues, the things that don't really get talked about, because that's something that I pride myself on is I like talking about the stuff that people don't normally like to talk about, right? Like, I like to drag that sort of conversation out of people. I find it much more entertaining than trying to come up with something goofy and silly. Like, of course, that'll still be there, especially if Justin's on or I have some other people that my comedy works well with and stuff like that. So episode 0, this in its entirety is basically, I'm sorry I keep touching my hair. It's just, it looks like trash tonight. God. But basically, this episode 0 is more for my sake of saying, like, here's the format. This is what I'm planning on doing. This is why I'm doing it. Go and watch the first episode, and if you like it, then continue to watch more as I try and get more out. I'm going to be attempting to record another episode very soon, but who knows when that will happen. I'm not going to put any sort of like, oh, there will be a episode every, X amount of days. No, I'm not doing that. I can't commit to that. But I will do my best to be persistent with this and to actually keep this idea going. So, yeah, please check out the podcast. If you have any ideas of segments or questions that I should ask future guests, leave them in the comment section below, and I will happily take a look at them and see how I can incorporate them into the show. And yeah, thank you for sticking with me if you stuck with me this long, because the analytics will tell me, and if my viewer drop-off rate happens like midway through the video, like most of my videos, then, that tells me something. But if you're still here, you, right there, thank you. Alright. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I have been Cypress Soulfire, aka TJ King, aka Thomas, and I will talk to you all soon.